directly from that link. It shouldn't be. Christia,
What?
you're over there dancing.
Hey,
Well,
Melody.
I was rocking.
We're live. Melody,
We are.
can't see you.
Okay, we are
Hey, B Speaks.
live on Facebook right now. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hey.
How is everybody doing? We're just giving everybody a few minutes to get on, but welcome to Meet a Black Mental Health Professional.
Hey.
D, we can't hear you. D Speaks.
And Melody, we can't hear or see you.
Oh, I was
I
saying
can
this
see
is
Melody.
awesome.
You can see Melody?
I can see Melody. Those
This is
beautiful
Melody.
locks. With those beautiful locks. Yes.
No. Oh, you're looking at
That's
D
D.
Speaks.
Oh, I thought it said Melody on there.
Yeah, Melody's name is on there, but I still don't see her yet.
Oh, okay. She jumped in there and substituted.
I'm trying to switch over and use my laptop instead of my phone.
I can't remember if it lets you.
It's asking for a password.
Okay, this is East West. I guess maybe we should have waited to go live, but welcome to live production.
The struggle. This is what's up.
It's real.
I don't have the Jimmy Fallon crew or the Jimmy Fallon money, so this
Okay.
is what you get. This is me trying to click and let people in. Hello, Lynn.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, nice to meet you.
Hi.
Denise and Melody, we need y'all beautiful faces on camera.
I'm coming.
There you are, Melody.
Is Dr. Anderson on for tonight? Alanya Anderson? I thought she was on tonight.
How is that spelled?
Allana.
Okay, yes, I sent the information.
Okay.
So we'll just see what happens. Well, everybody that's on here, I'm Megan Pickens.
And
That's
I am.
Tanisha Guy. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Her. All right, and we are meeting you tonight for Meet a Black Mental Health Professional. I almost said therapist, but I'm trying to remember this is for everybody. So we have a few people who have signed up with us tonight, and they are going to introduce themselves, tell you about where they are, who they are, what they do, and whatever they want. And then we will open the floor up for Q&A, but let me say this is not therapy. So they will be general questions.
About specialty areas, or if you have questions about how to find a therapist, or anything related to those types of questions.
Diane, you're gonna have to turn off one of your sounds.
I'm coming. Let me see how to get out of it.
Woo.
Sorry, y'all.
Okay, it's technology.
Right.
I still hear Melody. I'm coming.
Uh-huh.
I'm coming.
I'm like, where are you? So who would like to start? Oh, that echo is killing me.
Well, I'm an introvert, so I guess I'll go first. My name is Leonard Sturdivant. I am here in Durham, North Carolina. I'm right in the middle of a battle between I am a doctoral candidate, but me and Virginia Tech going through some stuff right now. So I had to hire a lawyer. So in the meantime, my chair quit. So that created a vacuum and I got sucked up into it. So needless to say, so I said, well, I guess while I'm waiting on all this stuff to go down, I'll do life coaching, right? So you're getting a little bit more than a life coach with me. You couldn't a whole lot more. So I've started my websites, and hopefully this outcome will be in my favor. Lawyers are very expensive, and you have to get an educational lawyer, which I never knew existed. So it's a lot of drama, but I'm here. But it doesn't deter me from my mission, because this is my lane. This is what I want to do. I'm really good with relationship therapy with people who are about to scratch each other's eyeballs out. I'm pretty comfortable with that. So I'm here, and I'm doing my thing until some other things change.
Well, good luck to you on that whole situation. That's horrible. I am right 2 months away, and I'm not sure what I would do to people if something like that happened to me right now.
You're being impatient.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I would be doing. I would have to talk to one of y'all and be like, I understand that you're my friends, but I'm going to need some help because I don't have time for jail. I'm so ready to be done with
I
this
have
situation.
struggled with that. I have struggled with that, and a friend of mine, she put it so eloquently. She said, "All that labor and no baby." I'm like, oh God.
Oh my goodness, that would be, yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of, I was crestfallen at that point. So, but
So much more of a polite word than I would use, but I love it.
yeah, I'm semi-code switching here. I don't know how loose you want me to be. So,
I took my disclaimer down, but there's a disclaimer on my page that I love you. I'm a Christian and I try to be good a lot of the time, but you might have to clutch your pearls sometimes. So we'll be all right.
okay, because I actually prefer adult language. So, okay, but anyway.
Sorry, Pastor, but you know me. I didn't say it. All right, thank you. Who would like to tell us about themselves next?
I guess I can go. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey,
Hey, so I'm Diane Marion Eunice, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've been in practice for 9 years, going on 9 years. And my practice is called Let's Talk Relationships, PLLC, and also Relationship Counseling Services comes under that too. So I specialize in working with trauma. I do a lot of trauma work. I specialize in all things relationships. I like to tell people couple therapy is my baby. I love it, love it, love it. So I work a lot with couples, but I also work with veterans and PTSD. And one of my specializations is also caretakers of family members who have Alzheimer's, dementia, and other debilitating illnesses and end of life type situations. So I work with that population of caregivers because I think I've witnessed it firsthand with my dad and watched my mom. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I don't think people understand some of the stress and the depression and anxiety, weight loss. There's a lot going on with that. And then in our culture, it's frowned upon somewhat to put your loved one in like a nursing facility. So not only are you dealing with your own, trying to take care of this person, but you also have to deal with some of the guilt of putting them in a facility. But I tell people sometimes it gets to the point where you cannot physically take care of somebody. And so, so I talk to caregivers about the shame and the guilt that is imposed upon them by other people, especially people in our culture, because, we take care of Bubba and them, we gonna keep them at home. Like we don't send them off. And that's what people think. Oh, you sending them off, like you can't take care of them. But, caregivers, I've learned they have a lot on their plate. And so I do work with them and older adults. I think it's important. So I also work a lot with men and men's issues, and I work a lot with adolescents. So that's why I say I specialize in all things relationships, because everything, is relational actually. So I'm out of Fort Worth, Texas, and I have an office here. I do a lot of telework, of course. I think we all are right now. So I am doing a lot of telework and love therapy. This is, what I know I was supposed to be doing. Let my mom tell it. This was something I didn't ask to be a therapist. It just kind of, when I was a young girl at 6, 7 years old, I didn't choose it. It chose me. Way back then when I was a little person, my mom tells me now how I handled people. And so that's why I tell people, they say, well, how you get into therapy? And I'm like, I didn't choose it. It was just a part of the fabric of who I was as a little girl. And I never outgrew that. So I'm glad to be on here with you guys. I love to see my fellow therapists. We're all in one space. Thanks, Megan and Dr. Guy, for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. So nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Good seeing you.
Oh, indeed, there's one more thing about the Relationship Playbook.
So I did write a book. My book, it came out this year in January, and it's called The Relationship Playbook, a 21-day journal on dating, sex, and love. And it did really well. And I noticed that more men were reading the book. I would get feedback. One of the wives was saying, man, he takes that book. It's in the bathroom. It's in the kitchen. It really resonated with people. And it really is just about, I spoke a lot about the baggage and the unhealed, unresolved baggage that we're dragging into these relationships, right? And so people know that I say, we can't heal what we don't acknowledge, or I'll say we can't heal if we don't deal. And so the book is really basically allowing people to look at themselves. Some people was funny. They wrote me and was like, I'm not ready for this book. Like, I'm not ready to, it's too deep for me right now. Like, I'm not ready to get into that space. And so it's really, somebody said it was like therapy in a book. And so I'm adding now to the book as we speak. I'm doing a chapter just for couples, and I'm doing a chapter just for men. And so I also have some intimate products that are going to be coming out to help the couples. All right, look, she did this. Hey, so, it's going to be kind of cool. Got some little, I ain't gonna tell y'all. You have to wait and see. But
so is the book geared towards men, or it's for women, or?
No, the book is for everybody. It's how we're showing up in our relationships. It's how it's letting us look at ourselves and what we're bringing into the relationship. And then it really just kind of, it's where you can journal in it as well. I have questions after each chapter. There's questions, and then there's places for you to write your answers and just kind of reflect on it. And one of the questions is, do you ever ask your partner, what is their experience like being in this relationship with you? People don't ask that question. What is it really like being with me in the relationship? And so there's a place.
Buy the book.
Huh?
Where can we buy the book?
It's on, and actually my coach is going to get upset, but I haven't put it on on Amazon. I will this weekend. There's a link where we have it where you can go get it, and I can definitely get it to you guys. But
I'll buy one.
It's something. It's something.
Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Guy. I forgot about that.
Absolutely. I got it, I think in 2 days, I read the book, and it's written like a journal. So if you're working with clients and you're doing couples therapy or even an individual, it's just a really good read to help them walk through some things that they're not having conversations about, but the book really pushes them in that direction. And it's an easy read. So if you're listening to Dee speak right now, reading the book is like talking to her. So you really get the feel from the author in the writing. So good book.
Thank you. We got to stop being loyal to the lies.
That's true.
Tell people we got to stop being loyal to the lies and start dealing with our stuff. So again, thank you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
All right, who's next?
I'll go next. My name is Cassandra Rowe, and I am the owner of Epiphany Counseling Services in Arlington. We specialize in adolescents and women. My clients have nicknamed me the boundaries therapist because I spend so much time on boundaries. Boundaries are just fascinating to me. I believe that any conflict can be traced back to a problem with boundaries. And so what I find is, especially among our African-American clients, my people, that we don't have a good foundation in boundaries. Black mamas don't believe in boundaries. You don't have a door to close. So that's my door. I pay those bills. So I really enjoy walking clients through learning about boundaries, learning how to enforce boundaries and set boundaries in their relationships. I enjoy doing that as well with adolescents. My background is in education, and I'm also a licensed sex offender treatment provider for juveniles. I don't currently see kids with sexual behavior problems, but that is my background. And so I also work with a lot of victims and a lot of kids who have some sexual acting out. So that's me. My practice is in Arlington. I have 3 other providers, and right now I have 4 interns. So all African-American women.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
And
Yeah.
I heard you mention right before we went live that you have interns and you guys have a reduced rate. So
Yes.
people
So
interested in
we have interns that are, their rate is anywhere from $50 to $65 an hour, depending on their experience. And then we also have practicum students, and they can see people for a reduced rate of $15 a session. So we really try to make it affordable and have different options for so that mental health services are available to anyone who is seeking them.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. My name is Melody Parker, and I have a private practice in DeSoto, mending broken pieces, counseling and consulting services. And I recently left education. It'll be a year in August, going full-time private practice, and started a group called Village Connect to provide school-based, thank you, Megan. It was a struggle. Doing school-based mental health services, which has really been a passion of mine, because being a school counselor, you're in the trenches and you see it, and it really takes the whole village to help the child. So I appreciate Megan and Dr. Guy. Dr. Guy was my professor and my LPC supervisor, and then Megan was my instructor in becoming an LPC supervisor. So I just appreciate the love and continued support. And right now I have 2 interns and a student intern. So
Oh, wow.
I know, thank you, Megan. Thank you, Dr. Guy. The baby's all grown up now.
Right.
We do have reduced rates as well, and we want to be able to provide services to anyone who's in need. We really don't want to turn anyone away. And because of that, we are starting a teen girls group
Nice.
the end of this month for 7 weeks online. And of course, it's to empower and bring awareness to the social injustices that are occurring, and really being able to learn how to process in a safe place. So that will start at the end of this month, and we are comprised of brown and Black women of color. So we do have someone who is bilingual should those services be needed.
Awesome. And how can I get more information about that, Melody?
The flyer should be coming out soon. We should have a commercial on Facebook, hopefully tomorrow, but by the end of this week. Yes, and if you go to my website, you can get our contact information to connect with either one of us.
And what's your website, Melanie?
Yes.
It's long, but it's
okay.
mendingbrokenpiecescounseling.com. And I have a great support system, which also includes Christia, who is no longer in our office. So I just appreciate the support, and I want to continue providing support to others.
Awesome.
Thanks, Melody.
Well, I guess I'll go since that's kind of an introduction. Hey guys. I'm Christia Rogers, and I am the CEO of Bridges to Crossroads Counseling and Consulting, LLC. My practice primarily is I guess it's kind of governed by, I also have a very extensive educational background, thus the MED, because I'm a master's of education. So I've spent a lot of time in education. So I help a lot of parents and students that have served or a part of the special education system. Kiddos with behaviors. I do also have a background in behavior interventions. I also work with the LGBTQ population for same-sex couples. And so I also present to couples on their marriages because it is very underrepresented. So now that we have so many couples, same-sex couples, it's kind of just called to me, and it just ended up in my lap. And it's been a blessing and very, knowledgeable. So that's kind of my focus area, as well as trauma in teens, because of course, my education background overlaps with that. And that's kind of how I became a counselor, because I started out in education. As Melody has mentioned, I'm no longer in the DeSoto office. I have an office in North Richland Hills, which is Tarrant County side. And I am right now only taking telehealth clients. I want to make sure that we stay as safe as we can. And once we get back, in our offices, then, I'll definitely put it on my website and so forth. I'm actually opening up my practice now for practicum students as well as interns. So I have a few that will be coming in the fall. And I'm getting guidance, of course, from our governing bodies on how to make sure that we have our staffings are face-to-face and so forth, because of course that's going to be a part of their curriculum now.
Partner, what is their experience?
So, yep, and that's me.
Thanks, Christia.
Yes.
I forgot to add, I am trained in EMDR. Forgot to add that. And I work with populations dealing with grief and trauma as well. I forgot that.
Melanie, please explain what EMDR is to those people that are viewing that are not in the profession.
EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. So it just allows the brain to do all the work to reprocess any traumatic experience that you've had in order to basically create healing and healing basically to move on. And not that the traumatic experiences go away. You may continue to have flashbacks or nightmares, but it's easier to manage the trauma. And I'm actually doing it online as well. So just like Christia, all of my clients as well as the interns are being seen online, and there's a tool that I do use virtually to help with EMDR.
Thank you.
I should have added that. We're all online right now too.
Yes. We probably should have said that at the beginning when we introduced everybody that we're all in telehealth, because Texas is open back up, but no.
Megan has not.
Right, Megan, and neither has Christia. And right. That is something to say, because I have people calling, wanting to be face-to-face, and unfortunately I can't do it. So Thank you for that.
They're adamant about wanting it.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have one that they were like, no, I need to see you in your office. I'm like, I'm not even going in there and probably till the second week in July. And then I'm really just kind of seeing how that's going to go. But there's some who really just, and I love face-to-face. Like I
Mhm.
love
Me too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I can call out certain body language
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So it is a little different, but health and safety is first. And just because the country's opened up, that doesn't mean that, we're going to put ourselves and our clients at risk. So, and it's really difficult trying to explain that because, well, the country's open now. So
Right.
I understand what your problem is. That's what somebody told me the other day. I'm like, well, the problem is it's my practice and I don't have to open it up yet. So
The wonderful joys of being in business for yourself.
Or you can go see somebody who is
really
open.
good. And I actually did I gave them some, other names. I said, now I don't know if they're open, like to see face to face, but, so I didn't just, I did tell them because it is my, I can do that. But I also gave them some, I said, well, try these people. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but, they're just really adamant. And I understand because we're in this time that we're living in and people are anxious and they're, and so, but we still have to be safe as practitioners. We have to be safe.
Yes, I love face to face, but I have to be alive to do face to face.
Right.
So,
Right. And I think people's anxiety about doing virtual, if they've never done it before, is just like any of their other irrational thoughts. They think it's not going to be a quality service or that they're not going to be able to build that relationship. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of walking them through and bringing their anxiety down at the beginning on how to just function on a virtual platform. So just like housekeeping stuff, if we get cut off, this is what we do. Or, sometimes the platform will freeze. We kind of do a lot of that up front so it normalizes for them and also let them know that I'm struggling just like they are on this platform because I was 95% face-to-face before COVID. And was forced to go 100%. So luckily I had a little bit of experience because I had a couple of clients that I did virtual with. So just really normalizing that for them has helped me and helped them a lot to kind of get used to it.
Dr. Anderson, we haven't heard from you yet, and it looks like we're heading into discussion. So I want you to jump in and go before we start doing more discussing about COVID and being telehealth and all of that, because it's important.
My name is Alina Anderson. I am the owner of Mental Health for Wellness. I specialize in adolescents. That's what I had been doing, working with families, specializing in blended families and dealing with families who are having related to adjustment, whether it be adoption or foster children or just a divorce, that sort of thing. I am also a play therapist. And I will be, I am a play therapist and I will be practicing play therapy, hopefully in the fall. I've tried a little bit of it virtually, but I will be coming to the DeSoto office to do play therapy in the fall. So I'm looking forward to that. I already had some things I said on a committee today talking about the safety of reopening in the school. So I'm on a board to do that. So we talked about the different things that we can do. And I was applying that to how can I do therapy with children at the same time of being safe. I'm currently also working on a study. And the title of the study is The Impact of Systemic Racism on the Mental Health of Black Men. And so
we love it.
I've been working and that's to focus on the trauma of being a Black man because you were born a Black man. So you don't have post-traumatic stress disorder, you have continuous traumatic stress disorder. And so it's the fact that when you wake up, you just go out into the world and how do you fit in? and how are you treated and how are you received and what do people do when they see you and they don't know you. And so that's what my research is on. I'm looking to have 10,000 Black men to participate in it. I'm going hopefully before the IRB to get approval for the study in August. So I may need some of you to help me. I can't just say all Black men, it won't work that way. So I'm gonna start with HBCUs because that's giving me a group of people who are over 18, who are still young enough to remember their experiences. One of the things that I want to establish is the age at which Black men first experience racism. What is the incident? What age is that? So that's going to be determined. It's going to be a mixed method study, which will include qualitative and quantitative data. The qualitative part will be after you ask 10,000 Black men, what age did you first experience racism? You add them all up, you divide it by the number of how many you have, and then you know. Right now it's looking like 9 years old because I have a podcast working with Black men mainly. Yesterday I interviewed a Black man who was in the military, and we talked about his experience. Last week I had the pleasure of interviewing one of George Floyd's personal friends. And so we discussed what that looked like, what it felt like. And he told me about a story, and his age was 9. So both the last two people that I've interviewed, their age of racism is 9. And I think that is attributed to them actually growing a little bigger. And so you're no longer this cute little boy, you're transitioning into a teenager. And that's where some of that threat begins. But the study hasn't been done yet. I will definitely be reaching out to those of you on this call to assist me, just because it's going to be a pretty big undertaking. But I think there's not data. No one's ever asked my dad, my husband, or my adult sons anything about their mental health. No one's ever asked. So I think it's valid. It would be the most recent, updated, and accurate data of a group that's been overlooked. And so I'm looking forward to doing that, as well as pushing the play therapy in the fall.
Well, count me in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes.
I would love whatever you need. I will love to assist you in any way, administratively or whatever you need.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm excited to hear more about that, Dr. Anderson. I was like, what? No one is doing this type of study. This is awesome. So,
the unique thing is that I'm going to start off with HBCUs as a piece of what I really wanted to do is just say, let's just go get 10,000 Black men. But you can't really do that because you don't want to have the door open for anybody to just respond and skew the data. So it has to be our puzzle, and each slice we'll be getting into. So the first slice will be HBCU males, which are going to be between the ages of 18 or however, they could be graduate school students. And I've already gotten like a semi-approval at one of the HBCUs. So I'm going to try to hit as many of those as possible, and then actually reach out to churches, like African-American churches, because I think the older gentlemen have never been asked, what was their experience like? What has it been like? What information can we pull from a 60-year-old man to support this 18-year-old? That's going through these issues, as well as making sure that once the data is gathered, that it is put in a place where it is in the hands of people that can make change, whether that's with laws, whether that's with protection, because it's almost like, just like pregnant women are protected, and if you do something to a pregnant woman, it's a felony. If you do something to a Black man at this date and time, it's a felony because you are actually targeting them, and it's a form of racism. But I don't want to get on that tangent. That's not why we're here.
So why did you say, so when you say it's not possible to do it with just saying 10,000 Black men, are you saying that you don't think the IRB at your institution will approve it, or you're just saying you think it just won't be widely accepted?
Well, if you push it out openly, like let's say Facebook monitors you are a Black woman between the ages of 18 and 25. If you actually pushed it out that way, other people could access it and actually take the survey, and it's not as controlled as it would be if you knew this is a university and 90% of the students that attend this that would receive this survey are Black. Once it gets out too loose, you start losing the integrity of the survey to know that you're getting who you targeted if you just push it out any kind of way.
You can steal your data.
But if you have an idea, I am definitely open. I have.
Well, I'm just asking because I'm doing a study on high achieving Black women, and that's pretty much all I got for, you know, people who wanted to do the study. I had some people that didn't meet all of the criteria, but then also I was not looking for a sample size of 10,000. So
if we get 1,000, I'll be happy.
Dr. Anderson, I know you said that you're first going to look at HBCUs, which is great because I'm a graduate of 2 HBCUs, so big up to them HBCUs. Yes. But have you thought about reaching out to the fraternities?
Yes, yes.
And collecting data that way?
Yes, so the graduate level fraternities is the plan, because we're just trying to separate so we don't have to repeat anybody that's an undergrad. So graduate level fraternities. So it's a few other groups that we're trying to target, just places where there are high numbers of Black males.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I realize, you guys, that I so appreciate you all agreeing to come on tonight. And because we kind of had a conversation going before we went live, we really didn't say, hey, this is why we're doing this live for people that might just be tuning in. So I just thought that I would catch the people up to speed if they're just logging in. Soon to be Dr. Pickens and I thought that there was a great need to create a forum where individuals could find Black mental health professionals. And I felt bad because 2 weeks ago, I was speaking with a pastor and there were questions that were posed surrounding how do I find a Black counselor, or how do I find a Black psychiatrist? And I was like, oh, so-and-so and this person and that person, they were kind of looking at me like, where, how? And I just take it for granted that I am a woman of color and I know other clinicians of color. And so I can easily reach out and say, I'm looking for a female counselor, and even say I'm looking for a Black male counselor. But for everyone, it's not that accessible. And so we are meeting on Wednesday nights at 7 to highlight Black mental health professionals, whether you are a therapist, a psychiatrist, a social worker, licensed marriage and family therapist, a certified life coach. This is a platform where we want to introduce you to more viewers so that people can access you and find out what are your specialty areas. So for example, I had no idea who was certified in EMDR and who deals with trauma and some of the areas that you guys are dealing with. And so if someone is listening and they're trying to find a counselor, I think it's important sometimes to be able to find someone who looks like you. So when you're not a person of color, this isn't a question that you have to think about, because when you go to the doctor, most likely the doctor looks like you. When you go to the dentist looks like you. But when you are someone of color, it becomes a challenge to find someone who looks like you. This is what this platform is for. It's to bring us together as helping professionals, just really say, this is our level of expertise, this is how you find us, and to be able to open it up for questions if there are any.
So I think I'm so happy to participate in this platform. I had a really interesting conversation with a LPC intern about a month ago, and what she told me really disturbed me. She said that I was the first LPC supervisor of color that she had run across. And so that just blew my mind, because I know at least 10 people of color
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
4, 5.
Yeah. So
5 on here.
So it really struck me that there is a need for not only counselors, but also for our counselors who are in training, who don't go to predominantly Black schools, who don't go to HBCUs, who are at predominantly white schools, who are looking for supervisors that look like them, and who are not necessarily, they don't have a place to go to find them. So that was something interesting that I ran across about a month ago. And I ended up sending her to another colleague of ours, Osiris, because she's out in Frisco. And I really didn't think it was a good fit for her to have to drive all the way to Arlington. Now that we have COVID, she wouldn't have to drive, but that's a whole nother story. But I just found that very interesting that she had not been able to locate a supervisor of color, female.
I hear the same thing about practices as well. And so same thing. I know several Black women who own practices, but people don't know about us.
Yeah. And Mr. Leonard, I couldn't hear it at first. Is it Leonard? So I thank you for just tuning in with us tonight. And counseling, or the mental health profession, is very much like teaching. It's a female dominant profession. And so oftentimes clients will ask for a Black male therapist, and they're like, I can't find one. And I know several, but I do know that that is a challenge when you're trying to find a good Black male therapist. And so I'm hoping that as we continue this, that we'll get more Black male helping professionals that want to be highlighted, that can tell people where they're practicing, what their specialty areas are, because there are people looking to see you. There are men, and for some reason, people think that Black men don't go to therapy. That's false, right? Like, we all know that they come to therapy and they do work. And so sometimes what they're looking for is someone who they think is more relatable, which may be a man, and that may be the case. So we want to have a platform for them where they can get those resources. So I thank you for taking time out to join us this evening tonight.
Sure, no problem. I think it's amazing because I was looking, I'm always crunching data. So there's not an HBCU in the country with a marriage and family therapy program at the master's level or the doctorate level. I think that is just mind blowing. So that kind of makes sense though, because my count is that there are 10 Black men in the country with a marriage and family PhD. 10. I'm trying to be number 11. So you talk about unicorn, rare, air, that's the kind of stuff we're putting up with. But you know,
if you send me that information, Lynn, I will share that, because I didn't even know that. And so that is the other part of this. What we're doing is information gathering. And so I've been trying to figure out the best way to disseminate it, but it might just be a post somewhere public that we all share, but I didn't even know the 10 existed.
Yeah, I can put my hands on 4 of them. Ironically, 3 of them came from Virginia Tech, but there's been a regime change. So, and I'm sure Diane can attest to that this is a white female dominated industry. And I've been to a couple of AAMFT conferences, and it was like, wow. I saw entire rows of white women, and there was not a break in the action. So,
absolutely.
I'm going to mute my thing so I don't say stuff. So, because I have so much to say, but I'll wait.
But he's telling the truth, like
until October.
Until October, right? October,
when you get your freedom.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Megan.
Yes.
You guys, there is a question. The question is posed to everyone. Is anyone doing holistic approaches in their treatment?
I am. Everything is connected. So, and we probably all have some aspect of that, because how we take care of ourselves physically affects us mentally. And I think with everything that's going on, mindfulness meditation is so important, not just for my clients, but for myself. So it's some prayer and deep breathing and really trying to focus on the present and what I can do to really manage what's going on with me. So I think in every aspect, regardless if it's children, individuals, couples, what have you, even with EMDR, it's really being able to look at the whole person, because that's how healing can resume or come into fruition if you look at the whole person and looking at health-wise, physical and emotional. because it's all connected. If you lack taking care of yourself physically, it's going to affect you emotionally and vice versa.
Thanks, Melody.
Somebody asked on the on Facebook, are there any marriage counselors who are doing group counseling?
I'm going to be. Actually, that's something I'm working on in September. So I'm looking forward to that, because I think that's going to be so helpful, that other people can see that they're not alone in some of the issues that they're dealing with. So yes, it's coming in September.
And that's also one of the modalities that I'm looking at. I was looking at before COVID hit, and then COVID hit. And it was like, but yes. So also in DeSoto, because Dee, you're in Fort Worth?
I'm in Fort Worth.
You're in Fort Worth. And so I'm over in the South in DeSoto that I am looking at starting some couples groups. I might even start playing with them virtually, because I think there's such a need for couples to be able to collaborate and discuss these topics that they think they're the only ones experiencing. So that's definitely something that I'll be doing soon.
That's a good idea. I think I may include that on my website. My website's marriagefamilyclinic.com. I'm here in Durham, North Carolina. So of course there's a shortage for, people who are looking for Black therapists. So I'm looking forward to servicing the population. And I tell them, I said, look, I'm kind of working on my doctorate right now. I have passed the MFT exam. I passed it. So, there's a lot of drama going around my candidacy. Anyway. But what I'm finding out is that people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And once you get past that threshold, it's wide open. All of my sessions are 2 hours, because I find that the clinical 50-minute thing, Black people are just getting going. And I hate to break that momentum with, oh, I'm sorry, we'll pick back up here. I can't do that anymore. So I've taken all of this white data, white subjects, and ran through my Black filter, and what came out was nothing of what I learned. When you actually engage with Black couples, it's a different world.
It's a different dynamic. It's very, very different.
So then does that make you fully private pay? Because, insurance will not do more than that 50 minutes. Yeah. Well, actually now it's 45.
Right.
45, okay. Yeah, all my clients are cash. Love it. They cash at me right here in session, or Visa, MasterCard, and, Black folks got money. So that's another myth, that they got plenty of money. And that market is burgeoning. It's there for sure.
I think what else is good, like I've started offering like packages, and that seems to go over well as well. So that, because he's right, trying to do it within that 45 minutes, it's just not possible. You're just getting warmed up. And so I did want to say I do offer packages for couples and even individuals who are busy, and so it just kind of works as well.
Somebody said teenage girl groups. I guess you asked that earlier because Melody said something about teenage girl groups, right? Tamara wants you to send her information about your teenage girl groups.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I'll share it. I'll link you guys in messaging if you're not friends.
Okay, thank you. It will be for English speakers, June 27th. I believe that's the last Monday of this month until July 29th. Is that the last Monday? I don't have my calendar in front of me. But it is $20 And it's 1 hour sessions, 6 to 7 for English speakers, and Wednesday, 6 to 7 for English speakers. So June 29th for English speakers, and then Spanish speakers is July 1st through the end of the month of July. And we'll have a parent informational next Saturday at 2:30 for English speakers and 3 o'clock for Spanish speakers. And it'll be on my Facebook page. So Mending Broken Pieces, and then I'll share it to my personal page, and also on Instagram, Mending Broken Pieces.
And if you guys provide me with all that information and social media and all of that, I can repost it maybe in our on the event page or something.
Okay, thank you.
Where people are following the event page. Let me see. Dr. Anderson, Zandra Rutledge said that she would love to help you. All right, so do we have any other Q&A from the audience or anything that we want to talk about as professionals? I know a lot of questions that we've been asked about is what does life look like after COVID for, counseling, because right now we're all on telehealth, but what is it going to look like when we open back up?
Well, I was going to say at my office, it's going to look very similar to when you go into your doctor's office. So I'm working with some other counselors as well as some other health professionals. You'll have to sit in your car and call us, and we'll admit you in. There's only going to be 2 providers in the office at one time. We will be taking your temperature when you come in to make sure that you are fever-free. And you will have to sign a COVID release form talking about just the risk. So even though we are all taking precautions, there is a risk of in-person sessions. And so we need to make sure that everyone is aware of that risk, and also to cover our own selves in the event that, someone does contract COVID. So that's kind of what it's looking like in our office. We have had the office deep professionally cleaned, and also we are going to have it professionally sanitized before we open back up. And so that's probably going to be taking place next week, where we have hand sanitizing stations, and everyone's going to be required to wash their hands at that hand sanitizing station when they come in. Our lobby is going to be closed, and that's just to try to keep down transmissions and people, coming in contact with other people. So that's kind of what it's looking like for us. And we are watching the new cases to decide for sure if we are going to open up by July 1st. So it's just going to depend on what it's looking like in Tarrant County. I'm in Arlington, and so I get a lot of clients from Dallas County and a lot of clients from Tarrant County. So I have to also keep that in mind.
Yes, we were going to reopen June 1st, and then I got the report from Tarrant County, and so that pushed it back immediately. Yeah. And it would have been this in the same way as you, except I'm also requiring masks for staff and clients until, the infection rate starts going down.
Right. Yeah. We have face shields. We have face shields.
Okay.
And I'm undecided about that because, of course, that is an added expense. If everyone who comes into the office, we provide a face shield for all of them, that will get expensive. We also have installed a plexiglass divider at the front desk. So when people are checking out, or if we have to, they have to come up to the front desk for any reason, that we have that. So one of the things that I found is that it's been very expensive to even think about reopening.
Yes,
very expensive.
I was going to require people come with masks and then have a few disposable, in case people did not have them. But yes, but providing for my staff, of course, and myself. And I don't have the face shields. I didn't even think about
Sam's,
that.
girl, Sam's.
Okay.
Good to know.
Sam's. We also went to the city of Arlington handed out masks for any business that wanted them. Like 2 weeks ago. And so I went and got them because at that time I was unsure whether I was going to require that people wear masks. And so I'm still undecided. I have bought several face shields so that we have that as an option. I'm not sure how I feel about wearing a mask and doing therapy.
Guys, there's another question. How are services paid for? So I know everyone has a different means of how their services can be paid for, whether you take insurance, your self-pay, EAP. Can you guys describe what those are?
So I take insurance, and I also, of course, self-pay is always good. So I do take self-pay, and I also have a sliding fee scale. I think I never want cost to be a barrier for somebody coming and getting the help that they need. So I had somebody call the other day, and she told me their situation, and of course I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, that's not my, that's way below my rate. Never will do anything like that. And I think I just feel we have an obligation to, what is it called when you give back? We learned it in school. What's it called?
Altruism.
No. What is it?
Pro bono.
Pro bono.
Well, something else. In grad school, they said something else, but it really just amounts to pro bono. Now, we don't do all pro bono, but I at least like to have about 5. I do maybe 5 a month. I just think I have that obligation because some people really want therapy and that they just can't afford it. They don't have insurance or so many other mitigating factors. So if anybody's listening, call us. Like don't let price deter you from connecting with any of us. And if we don't do sliding scales, we can at least connect you maybe with somebody who does. But I just don't want that to be a barrier, especially during these times, because it's hard out here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting so many more calls and so many more people who never would have called before. But the stress of living and everything going on in the country right now, people are angry, people are hurt, people are sad, and they're anxious, and they just don't know what to do with that stuff. And so now they're like, I think I was telling somebody earlier, May is always pegged as, mental health month. Everybody's on the bandwagon. You'll see, posts and, everybody's on that. But then after May, what happens after May? So we're in this unique situation right now where mental health is now from the background and it's at the forefront, and people are recognizing that we need some help. And if anybody is a person of color who's watching, don't allow yourself to sit and suffer in silence because family says, we don't do therapy. Girl, you got to be crazy to go there. Why would you talk to somebody that you don't know? Like, we've heard all of it, and people can get discouraged, even though deep down they really do want to talk to somebody, but what will people think? So I'm hoping that you guys, this generational wounding, it can stop with you. And you have, how many of us? 8? You have 8 people on here who will love to talk to you. If you don't know what counseling is, we'll walk you through it. What's it look like? We can tell you, call us. Like I do free consultation, that first one, just to kind of see, because people wonder, well, what will happen when I come? Do I lay on a couch? If I'm laying on the couch, like, what are you doing? And, so I get all these questions. So I'd like to take people from the time you walk in, what it looks like. We're rapport building, because honestly, I don't see everybody that presents to me. I don't. I might see you that first time, and if I see that you're really just not you're not ready. You really just,
Have to.
you know what I'm saying? So I want you to be ready. I want you to come. I want you to call and say, tell me what this process looked like. Because my family in our culture, we just don't do therapy. So what will it look like for me? And we can just walk them through it.
Yeah.
So they can understand it. Because people have myths about therapy.
Sure do.
They think we're going to be in there messing with their minds. And, they just have all these things going on about therapy. And it's not, it's so far from the truth. It's not the TV version, people.
Right.
Not the TV version. Like, it's some real stuff that happens in there. And it's about creating change. So you can be the best version of yourself in all your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually getting a little bit better. Some of the portrayals in media have become a little bit more realistic than they used to be.
Yeah, they have. Some of it's still a little scary though.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Lifetime will mess up a therapist, won't they?
Lifetime will mess up everything though,
The therapists on Lifetime are not safe, honey.
No, never. They're
never safe.
Everything, yeah. Please don't judge your
the things you
ideas of
don't
therapy
do
on
as a
Lifetime.
therapist.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had that conversation with the client the other day, and they were like, well, I watch Ayala. I'm like, well, wait.
Wait.
Ayala,
Mute again.
Ayala's good for TV. Okay. She's not a therapist. So therapy is not that confrontational. I like Ayala. I think it's good for entertainment, but therapy is not that confrontational.
She exploits people. I mean, it's all about exploitation, and because after there's no aftercare.
There's no aftercare,
and then you just turn these people loose.
It's
I
for
mean,
the
you
camera.
exploited the hell out of them, and then it's like nothing, and don't follow. You don't even know what happened to these people 2 months after, 3 months after.
Right.
I could see if you were going to send them to a therapist, somebody that they could see. Set up something in the hometown, but apparently their budget doesn't allow for that. So
I think what I was told is she sets them up afterwards, but my thing is, as forceful as you are in the session, that type of encouragement needs to continue throughout. So there's a pros and cons. I will say the pros, it puts it out there for our community to know that there are people that look like you to where you can get services, but it's not going to be like that. Now, as therapists, sometimes we do challenge our clients, but it's nothing to where it makes you feel uncomfortable and don't want to continue.
Right.
And a little less
Not
theatrical.
licensed. She's not licensed.
She's a life coach, isn't she?
She is a life.
Yeah, she's not a therapist.
But
It's a different.
People don't really know the difference.
They don't.
They don't know the difference between a coach and a therapist. And because I do coaching, I do relationship coaching, but it's only for for individuals, but it's for folks who don't have some stuff that we need to go way back and just kind of, it's not on that deeper level. And that's the difference between a coach. They're going to get you from here to here in a short period of time. Therapy sometimes can take a long time. Now I know
and that's why we added for the coaches that we wanted certified, because we wanted some kind of training behind it, because there are people who are really good coaches that have some kind of certification, or they are degreed and they just decided to do coaching versus therapy. And so I think that is a better route to coaching, but
and the accountability piece of that, there are a lot of people out who have hung their shingle as a coach, and there's no one holding them accountable. There is no set of standards that, there's no ethical standards. And so it could be very scary for people who need therapy, but they fall in the hands of one of these coaches who is not trained.
Right. Exactly.
And
it can be harmful.
I think, and I respect coaches. I don't want, if y'all coaches are listening, like, we respect your craft. Like, we're not guys are out the Cracker Jack box.
Right.
You guys do have some, I respect coaches. We just want people to know there's a difference between therapy and coaching, because sometimes those lines get blurred, and we gotta, even as a therapist, if I'm coaching, I can't even talk about being a therapist. Like, it's, that's how serious it is. You can't mix those two.
Right.
So,
And one of the big comments that I wanted to add, because that question was about how to pay for services. I think a lot of people definitely avoid it because they think it's expensive or they can't afford it. If you're going to see someone for coaching, that's not covered underneath your insurance ever, never. So that's always going to be an out-of-pocket expense for you if that's the route that you decide to go. If you do decide to see a licensed clinician, depending on your insurance company, it might be covered. Most insurance companies cover them. And during COVID, at least the ones that I'm paneled with, they've waived the co-insurance and the co-pays and the deductibles. And so a lot of people don't know this right now. So if you have like a $1,500 deductible, $3,000, whatever that deductible is that may have prevented you from getting services before, they have been waived now during this particular time. So this is really the perfect time to seek out counseling services, because you can literally go and not pay anything depending on your benefits now.
And you do want to check with the provider that you're looking at to find that out for sure, because like she said, most of the companies, but that does not mean all. So make sure that you ask the provider to verify so you'll know and won't have an expense you weren't expecting.
Right. And also be sure that they cover telehealth or virtual counseling, because there are some companies that are self-funded that virtual counseling is not a part of the service that they pay for. So you have to ask specifically, does my coverage include virtual counseling or telehealth?
Yes.
And
Good point.
If you have a copay and you're not in the financial position to pay, EAP, Employee Assistance Program, is also an option to where your employee covers so many sessions either throughout the year or during a certain period. So it's separate from benefits. Even if you don't have benefits with your job, EAP is a service that's free for you and everyone who lives in your household. So it could be 3 to 8 sessions is what I've seen normally. And depending on the concerns, also get an extension of sessions.
Yeah, that's anybody. If you, for whatever reason, had to move out of your apartment or a house and now you're living with your auntie, your uncle, cousin, any relative, if they have an EAP benefit, you qualify for their services. They're not paying for it. You're not paying for it. As long as you are in that house with the person who has that EAP benefit, you have those services. And I know there's a lot of people who got some extended guests that have been there way too long. Now they weighing on your mental health. Your mental health is jacked up. So all y'all need to get your behinds over there to EAP. And if you don't know how to find out if your company has it, you can contact your HR. For most cases, the HR knows for sure if your supervisor doesn't know, but that's definitely one way. I always tell my clients, if they're using their benefits first, I say, do you have EAP? Yes. EAP first, and then we'll work from there.
Right.
And then also with EAP, with the COVID, people are a little bit more lenient with that as well. And some of the companies will give you more EAP sessions if you come in for different reasons. So if you first come in for, you're having some depression, and then, it causes you marital problems. And so you need EAP for marriage. So you can get different authorizations for that for a lot of the companies. Because I think a lot of companies have EAP that they're actually paying for and providing for employees that never gets used.
Right.
And it's free.
Or they like to say at no cost to you.
Okay, at no
cost to you.
No cost to you, but people don't take advantage of it.
I think sometimes people think if it's a service from the company that somehow you're going to be going to see a therapist that works for the company. And so I often spend a lot of time just doing that education. They give you a list of therapists based on your needs, and you get to select. And these are therapists that are in the community that would be seeing you if you were using your paid insurance. Right. So I think sometimes companies aren't really good at helping their people understand that this is not related. We don't send our notes to the company. The company's not going to know. Your boss is not going to know that you're in there talking about them. They just don't understand. They don't understand that.
Unless you have a management referral, because I think those require your records. But otherwise, all the company knows is that you use the service, like you use 5 sessions, but not what
Right.
you did.
But if it's a management referral, they have sent you there. So
Yes.
it's not negotiable. If
Right,
it's a management
exactly. That was
referral,
my
they're
point.
like,
So they will
you gotta
know.
go.
Yes.
Or you're not gonna be working here anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's tough with the insurance companies because I remember calling Blue Cross Blue Shield. I was kind of curious. I said, I want a Black therapist. And this woman told me we don't classify our therapists and you know, it's kind of, you know, we have a queue and which, you know, you are assigned a therapist. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me that Blue Cross Blue Shield don't know how many Black therapists they got under their employ? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, they collect
They
our
have
demographics.
demographics.
Exactly.
They collect
I
them.
always put it on mine too.
Always.
They have it.
All
They choose not
insurance
to list it.
companies have demographics. Like I worked for a mental health insurance company, the largest one, for
They
several
all have
years.
demographics.
And they have demographics. They can tell you the age of the therapist. Now, sometimes they'll rule that one out, but they will tell you that if you ask. You can definitely ask for a specific ethnicity. You can ask for a religious preference, and then you can ask for your specialty areas. And I don't think people know that. You don't have to just take the list and say, oh, Betty and Lucy on that list. Well, Betty and Lucy, I don't think look like me. Where's Tanisha at?
And specialties are like
can
women's
give you those.
issues,
Yeah.
all, you know, men's issues, depression, anxiety, LGBT is a specialty, all of those.
Well, the only company I found that you could actually break it down, had it sorted beautifully was Magellan. Magellan had it sorted by ethnicity, language. So, because if I'm Chinese, now they'll find me somebody who speaks Chinese. Or if I'm Japanese, and even if I'm Hispanic, they'll find somebody Hispanic. But if you're Black and you ask for somebody Black, we don't want to hook y'all up.
Well, they may
I
not
would
have
stretch to say that might be
changed.
changing right now. We'll see what happens because, yeah.
Mute.
I think people were being held accountable a lot more for things that they have not been held accountable for in past times. And so maybe that will change. And if not, maybe, you know, you're the push to change it.
Question for you guys. What would you say to someone who went to counseling before and it was a horrible experience, and because of that, they've now generalized counseling as a whole to counseling doesn't work. I went for several sessions and it just didn't work for me. What would you say to the person who might be listening who is contemplating going but just had that horrible one experience?
Yeah. Well, you have to shop for a therapist like you shopping for a pair of shoes. If you don't feel the vibration, if you don't feel a frequency, if you don't feel that person within the first session, that's why I like to do a little 10-minute session prior to, so that we can kind of feel each other, you know, get a sense of style of communication. You know, you have to really weigh that person. You know, I'm asking the potential client to kind of look at the options, kind of go in knowing what you want to ask, you know, what's your school, modality. Folks who are comfortable sharing the information will, and you know, just be bold about asking, because see, a lot of us, we feel that, you know, oh, this is who I'm assigned, so this is it, and this is what I got to do, and it's not like that at all. You have choices, you have options. You can get up in the middle of the, you know, this is just not work for me. You have that right to get up and leave if you're not feeling that person. So, you know, just keep that in mind, you know, shop, you know, get an opinion, more than one, you know.
I think
And
we
do a Google search. I mean, like you said, the company should give you the demographics, but even when I've looked for a therapist myself, I want to see what they're doing, you know, like what their website says, or what do they say they do, or are they on therapy for Black girls, or, you know.
Right. One of the things I quickly picked up on was, so I'll get the list from Blue Cross Blue Shield. I know Darnell's Black. I know Tanisha is Black. So I'll look at the first name and then I just go down the entire list and I just start plucking out names that, you know, and then I do the Google search on them, and that's how all my doctors are Black, and that's how I found every last one of them.
Are you discriminating if you ain't got a Black name? Is that what you're trying to tell me then? Come on now, Lynn.
You don't have a white one.
You wouldn't have met Diane or Melanie if they wouldn't even been on that list. Or
I gotta go with something. I mean, you know, it's like
That's your black filter. That's his black filter.
That's my black filter. If they don't offer you any choices, a lot of the big insurance companies, they don't give you no choice. They'll give you the name, but they won't put the picture up. They won't put if you went to A&T, I know, okay, I know you got to be black. You went to A&T, so that kind of. I got several filters.
Well, some of us have tricky names because I've definitely had people come in my office and give me the "I didn't know you were black" look.
Oh, I get that all the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to. I think people need to know the session is about them, and this is your time. It's your space, and if you're sitting in front of somebody that you are not, feeling, connected with them, because therapy is really about that therapeutic connection, that alliance, that relationship is so important. And if you're not getting what you need, then by all means, you speak up. I don't think they understand that they can speak up and say, hey, I'm not really
feeling this.
Really, we can do a thing or two. I'm not really feeling you. I don't, and we don't get offended. People have to understand. We as therapists don't get offended. Like for me, I'm very direct. I'm very direct, and I let people know up front how things are going to look. Because you don't pay me to coddle, you don't pay me to. You don't want somebody just going to agree, with everything you do. You have friends for that.
Yes.
You have friends for that. So this relationship is so important because we're walking on that journey with you, and you're the pilot. We're the co-pilot. We're going to hang in there with you. So you have to feel comfortable, and you have to start, that trust factor between a client and a therapist is so important. And Dr. Guy, I've had people say, man, that last therapist, and I'm like, oh my God, and they will complain. So, but I'll stop them. I stopped it because it's not helpful now, but I do like to understand what happened, part of it were you not comfortable with, so that we can do something different here. So I just kind of get a little glimpse of what they went through and move on from that. But people have to understand, you don't like your therapist, don't keep going back. Like I've had people go back 3. I said, well, how many times did you go? Well, I was there for about 2 months. But so for 2 months, you were sitting there with somebody who you weren't getting what you needed from them. So,
exactly.
We have that the choice to this is your session, your money, your time, your space. You gotta get what you need. Because if you're coming in there and we're not connecting and you're walking out of my office, how's that going to help you? The behavior is not going to change because you didn't have that connection. So I think that's real important. But I do hear it, Dr. Guy, quite a bit.
And I also have come across some clients that are not aware that they can change, especially with the EAP. They don't feel that they can change because they've been assigned this, they don't know that you can, call and get it redirected to try someone else. So just educating them on that is, helps too.
And I was going to say that I ask go ahead, Melanie.
I was going to say the sessions too can start all over. So, if you're granted 5 and it really wasn't a good fit, whatever the reason may be, you can receive another 5 as long as you explain the situation. So you don't have to continue and then that's it. Only have 3 sessions left. So I'm just going to stick with it.
And if that don't work, you change the problem.
Right. I was going to say that's like one of the questions I spend some time on in intake. What was your experience in therapy before? What did you find beneficial from it? What did you find not beneficial? I like what Diane said, and she talked about, her approach is direct. that may not be the approach that you respond well to. That may be a trigger for you. And so we talk a lot early on that my feelings are not going to be hurt if it's not a good fit for you. I want to make sure that you are getting what you need out of this session. And sometimes you do have to change therapists several times before you reach that right fit. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the capabilities or the skill of the therapist a lot of times. Sometimes it's their own biases coming in. I mean, I know that I'm dealing with that with several new clients. Like Megan said, you know, they're surprised to come in and they see that I'm Black. And so I'm not forcing anybody to do therapy with me. I want it to be a pleasant experience for you. And if that's one of your biases, or if you have, you know, had a bad experience before, I want to get you with someone that, you know, therapy is hard enough. We don't need all that extra resistance going on.
Right.
So,
but if there's a pattern of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 therapists,
ooh,
you know, in a short period of time, then I like to have that conversation too, because I want to know what are you running from? What are you not ready to deal with? Because if you talk to them, some of the things I've heard, the reason they didn't like the therapist, it could have been something just as, you know, I didn't like, you know, how she dressed, or I mean, I've heard some very interesting reasons why they changed. So I'm always listening for that. And if you guys, if you're finding yourself just therapist hopping, then I always kind of like to slow it down and try to explore that. Like there's something going on with you that you're not ready to deal with. And it sounds like they maybe they get a little close, or, you know, start peeling back that layer just a little bit, then it's uncomfortable and you go to the next person. And you know, I've had that conversation with people and they've admitted it. Yeah, I just wasn't ready. So the next one would tell me to do something different, you know. So I kind of look out for those too.
That's a good point.
But just as much as we ask questions of them, I always tell prospective clients, ask me whatever, you know, because you are being vulnerable. In a sense, just being naked, you're allowing yourself to peel back the layers and share everything that you're going through. So just as much as I ask questions, what's beneficial for you, what has your experience been like, you can ask those same questions as you're shopping around or trying to find a good fit, because therapy is all about the relationship. And I want this to be a close-knit, as you said, Diane, a connection to where you feel like you can trust me enough to share whatever it is, you know, to help our relationship grow closer so you can accomplish your goals. So just as much as we ask those questions, I want the client to ask me, you know, what are my preferences, or have I been to therapy myself? What does that look like for me, you know, being on both ends, especially when I do EMDR, you know, clients are like, what is that? Is that hypnosis? You know, what is that like? And so going through the training, we have to experience it ourselves. So really knowing that someone has possibly been in my shoes and been on the other side to experience what counseling is like. So ask those questions.
How many of you that are on here do free consultations or any kind of consultation for new clients?
I do.
You guys, I know that this is a question that we often hear because we have some play therapy folks. So what age can you start to bring your child to therapy? And what should that look like in trying to find someone for your child?
Play therapy, you can have a child to start at 2 years old, sometimes maybe even earlier when it's an issue of trauma. We did a case study years ago, and it was an 18-month-old that had witnessed a murder, and that everyone assumed that the 18-month-old had no memory of it, but that kid could reenact what happened as a 3-year-old.